Well, hey crafty friends, it's Heidi Scott with DIY Dreaming, and on this video tutorial I'm going to show you something that is really cool. I'm going to show you how to turn a plain stretched canvas. They could be like this, or they could be the flat ones. They can be from Dollar Tree, they can be Crafter Square brand. I'm going to show you how to turn that into something that looks like farmhouse wood, something that looks aged, and then we're going to decorate it. And I'm kind of thinking about Easter, so the larger piece that we're going to do, I'm going to put a beautiful bunny on it. So that's the plan. As you're hopping on, say hello, let me know where you're watching from, feel free to sprinkle, all that normal good stuff. We're going to do this big stretched canvas, which I probably got this most likely I picked this up at either Hobby Lobby or Dollar Tree. And let me just tell you that no two stretched canvases turned into farmhouse wood look the same. And here's proof of that. This morning I've been playing. Look how pretty that turned out. It says True Love. It's a beautiful design. And then I did this one and I had a problem that I'll tell you about. Let me tell you right now. I didn't wait long enough. It wasn't fully dry before I laid down my stencils, so you can see where it kind of lifted up some of the stain on the edge. But this is a bubblegum bunny stencil that's really cute. So look how different those two faux woods look. And then this one, we'll finish this one off. And this one looked very different, if you ask me. We're going to finish both of these, and we're going to, oops, I have stuff everywhere. We're going to start this one, and we're going to be using this owl. Here's that bubblegum bunny. Here's that True Love stencil, and then we're going to use this. This is called Little Hair and Roses, and we're not going to be able to fit the whole entire thing on our piece, but we're going to do something really pretty. Same with this. Okay, so I just took the plastic off of my stretched canvas. Who's done this before? I used to do these wood projects or woodworking projects all the time. And then, I don't know, then I fell in love with canvas stack and painter's drop cloth, and I have not really gone back to it very much. But you can do this same technique that we're doing here on hardwood, on wood that you pick up anywhere from the hardware store, from Dollar Tree. You can do this same technique on all kinds of different things. Okay, so I'm going to start out with some Waverly white paint from Walmart. You can use any paint you want. And it doesn't have to be white, it could be cream. And so I'm just going to put a blob of it right here. And then this paint is very thick. So we're going to, oh, look at that already. We're going to dilute it a little bit. I'm just going to spray some. This happens to be distilled water, but it doesn't have to be distilled water. Switch this over. Okay, and then I'm going to use one of these cruddy chip brushes. Let me dry it off just a little bit. And I'm basically going to do a dry brush technique over the top of this. Okay. So I'm going to dip it into my paint with a little bit of water. And very lightly I'm going to go over my stretched canvas. It's fixed. Hang on. For Pete's sake, I'm working on some pieces of parchment paper because it's easier to clean up my work surface if I do that. but sometimes it's hard to get them in place. So I'm basically just going to do like dry brushing, and these are going to look like the wood grain. You can barely see them when you look at your... You do want to have your strokes all going the same direction, because wood grain doesn't go crisscross or up or down or in swirls. It goes in straight lines, you know, with a few little maybe knots or whatever in it, but I might need some more white paint. We'll see. Okay, let me look at it and see if I have stripes going all the way up to the top. Okay, so now I'm going to dry it and we'll move on to the next step. So this is just, I used Waverly paint, but you can honestly use any kind of paint that you have handy. But I would choose a light color, especially if you're working on a stretched white canvas. So I'm just going to get this dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. We're making faux farmhouse wood out of inexpensive stretched white canvases that you would paint pictures on. These are not fancy stretched canvases. You don't need anything fancy or expensive for this project. And the first step was basically just to dry brush like white streaks across your project. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply some stain. Look at this. I am down to the last drops of my favorite stain, which is, this was from a long time ago. I believe this was Maker Studio. What was it called? Gel stain. And it's diluted, and I finally took it out of the container that it was in and just put it in a jar. And then I always dilute it a little bit. So, okay, these are driving me crazy. I'm going to just get rid of them. Okay, so I'm just taking a sponge brush. Oh wait, first thing I want to do is some darker stripes on it. This is that same Yucky chip brush. This is one thing that really makes it look like wood grain. Okay, let's dry that real quick. Can you see what that looks like? Looks like a mess. And it dries very quickly. We're not fully drying it because we're just going to apply some over the top with a sponge brush. Okay, so now I have my sponge brush all ready to go, and I'm just going to cover the whole thing. We're going to basically be wiping this off, so it does not matter what your strokes look like. And I will come back and do the edges of this separate, but you would definitely want to do that as well. I need to get some new gel stain. Does anybody have a brand that you love that's easy to get? Tell me in the comments if you do, because I'm about out of my pathetic little jar of stain. Okay, so I'm just using paper towels, but you could use an old t-shirt. Some people do this, and later steps we may use a antibacterial wipe, depending on how dark it is. The thing about this project is that every single canvas takes the stain different. So it's hard to know what you're going to end up with. I'm just dragging my paper towel . Let me show you what it's looking like so far. It's starting to resemble wood grain a little more. And now when I take even more off, you're going to be able to start to see the paint, the white paint that we did the dry brush technique with. And if you want your wood darker, you can do this several times. I'm going to go for a lighter look for this one. Okay, and what is remaining here is the spots where I did the dry brush paint. They don't take the stain very well. And then that first coat that I put on with my chip brush that was real streaky, you can still see that pretty well too. Okay, so I will do the edges. They'll be easy. And I will let this fully dry. That is super important for the next step. Let me throw this over here. And let's clean up my mess here just real quick. Now comes the fun part, I think. I'm going to put my brushes away, and I'm going to stick this over here so I don't accidentally tip it over. then the next thing that I did with these ones that I worked on this morning, these two, was I took them outside and I gave them a quick coat of clear matte sealer spray with the hope that I wouldn't accidentally be pulling up some of the stain. Like, this was a test, and it's a good test. And I honestly, I could be embarrassed that I goofed this up and not show it to you, but if you know that you really got to let it dry and that the clear matte sealer spray works, helps, then I want to share that with you so you can see where my stencil kind of pulled a little bit of that up. And I did fuzz. So I took both of these outside about 30 minutes ago, and I gave them a quick spray. Okay, the other thing that's important here is that your stencil be fuzzed, especially if it's new or newer and super sticky. This one is not super sticky because I've used it a few times. It's called Owl on a Branch. I think it's really interesting. So I'm just going to be putting it on this. Feel where. I want to make sure I'm straight-ish. Let's look at the back. And that my flower is all the way on. Okay, good enough. Okay. So I'm just using white chalk paste, but I had a thought that you could also use the glittering white chalk paste, or you could use the almond, what is it called? It's kind of a creamy almondy color. That would be pretty too. But I'm just going to do white. So I'm putting some blobs on here. I don't know if that's more than what I'll need or not. And I'm just going to use a little squeegee. Thank you! Old barnwood. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to look like. And I'm going to try to just get my chalk paste on this and then force myself to stop. Okay, let's put all this back in my little pot. I'm looking to see where are the big globs that I need to do something with. I don't really see any. Okay, so you can see what that looks like. Oh my gosh. This seriously looks like old wood. Okay, let me throw this in my tub of water. And I will go to the kitchen after I'm done and wash it up. You could frame this, or you could just set it in a little easel. My glasses off. And I probably will give it another spray like in 2 or 3 hours. But that chalk paste isn't going anywhere. Neither is this stain over the white paint. And this is just a cheapo. Probably I got, these were 8x8. I got probably 4 of them for $2 or $3. So it's not an expensive project to try. What do you guys think? Do this or this if you like this idea. Of course you could do this on a stretch canvas in fun colors of chalk paste too. Okay, so now let's do this one. And I'm going to get my tacky towel out again. And we're going to use this. This is the prettiest stencil. Oh my goodness. There's so many things that you can do with it. It looks great just on a black chalkboard. Looks great in color. I did it on a pillow 2 years ago, and I added 3-dimensional floral accents. I just glued them to it. So it's called Little Hair with Roses, I think, and roses. Anyways, I will drop some direct links to these stencils in the comments, or you can just say stencils, and I will send you a personal message with direct links so you don't, well, I'll send a link to all the stencils, but I'll also put direct links here in the comments. So, I don't know if I used this last year or not, but these seasonal stencils are great. They're a great investment in your craft stash because you can put them away when Easter's done, when it's not spring. That owl is all season though, and bring them out next year. So I think they're a really good investment. And I'm pretty frugal. So I will use my stencils until they are absolutely dead. And I've had some that I've used 20 or even 30 times. Anyways, okay. So I want to look at my faux wood here and decide, I think this is the direction I want it to go. But the wood grain could go up and down if I wanted. And now I'm going to play with my bunny for a minute. I want this bunny's ears to fully be on the canvas, on this stretch canvas. It needs to go up a little bit. Yeah, I lose a little bit of his ears, but I want the flowers. Okay, so let's say that's good. And it is a little bigger than the surface. I believe this is a 15 by 15 stencil. Okay, and I'm going to just use white chalk paste again. I need to order another pot. I've had this one for a long time. They really do last a long time, and they're easy to work with. This is chalk paste, not chalk paint. Well, hi Dawn, how are you doing? Okay, let me concentrate. You want to move, kind of quickly, because I don't want all this chalk paste to dry before I peel up my stencil. Also, I don't want to keep going over and over and over the same areas, because that is when you can accidentally push too much underneath your stencil and it looks blurry. You can also go outside of your lines and make messes. So, okay, I have the whole thing covered, I think. Just look. See if I have any big globs anywhere. Let's put this back in the pot. Okay. Oh my goodness. I know I always say that, but let's start at the top so you can see. Look how pretty that is. And this is not babyish. We don't have any little people living in our home anymore. Our children are grown adults. One is married and one lives out in Oregon. So I'm not doing baby Peter Cottontail stuff. But this is fabulous. And it's a bunny. Okay, let me throw this in my tub. Making sure I don't get it stuck all over my owl or folded over on itself, because it is a big design. Okay, a little bit of a mess here. fix that. Okay. Where did I put my paper towels? Oh my goodness. Okay, one thing, using this clear matte sealer spray definitely helped. Waiting to make sure that my stain was fully dry definitely helped. Look how pretty that is. And I love the white, but I think it would be pretty in the almond too. I think if you did a black or a dark color, some of the detail would be lost. But doesn't that kind of look like wood? Even though it's just a inexpensive stretch canvas. So there's our bunny. And here is our owl. And here is my true love. Each one of these pieces looks slightly different because the different canvases take the stain and whatnot different. On this one I did the wood grain going up and down. On the other two I did the wood grain going side to side. And then this was the one that had the oopsie doopsie. It pulled up some of the stain. But this could be super cute as well. This stencil is big also. Well, it's like an 8.5 by 11, but it could be cute on a bigger canvas too. So do a this or a this if you like these. All three of these designs that I used have flowers on them. There's a little flower right there. There's a bunch of flowers right here. And then this has some lilies on it. Those are flowers also. So they're great for spring. If you want to look and see all the gorgeous designs that Magnolia has available, just comment stencil, S-T-E-N-C-I-L, and I will send you a personal message here through Facebook with a link to my stencils. I'm also going to drop here in the comments some direct links to these three. This True Love, I believe, is on clearance and 50% off. These two are not. But what do you think? Are these good Easter designs that are not babyish? I think they are. And I think my decor is pretty neutral. So I think these would totally, I could put these totally in my decor and they would go. Brenda says she loves them. Thank you, Brenda. And I see lots of hearts going up. Yeah, I see lots of people saying stencil, S-T-E-N-C-I-L. Vicki, I'll get you a direct link. I'll put it here in the comments and I will send you a personal message with a link to all the stencils. And then remember that what we used here today is chalk paste from Magnolia. It has the black lid. That's what you want to use on a hard surface. Okay, I'm going to clean up my crafting space and my hands. And then I'll sit down and see if anyone has questions. I'll read all of your comments. If you feel like sprinkling, that would be awesome. I hope that you have a blessed and wonderful rest of your day. And I hope that you learned something and you have a new idea for how you can turn a stretch canvas into faux farmhouse or barn looking wood. And if you decide to do that, I would love to see pictures. So please send those to me. All right. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.